Hello?
Hi there, Miki.
Hi.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
Perfect. Great to see you. How are you feeling?
I'm okay. I've got quite a
Yeah.
lot going on. Um, I'm all right. The weather's shit and it's a bit chaotic here, but it's fine. It's fine.
That's good. Yeah, I really enjoyed the gig the other day at Dartington.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
that was lovely actually.
Mm.
It was quite nice because we've got quite a few friends there. So the support band Lemonade Sin, we were kind of staying with Lee, and then we know all of them. And then my old neighbour from here actually lives in Totnes, so he was at the
All right.
gig, and,
Yeah,
and
brilliant.
there was a couple of old work colleagues that came along. So yeah, it was quite a kind of social affair. It was good.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, it's the second time you've been there. Yeah. So yeah, I wondered if there was a connection with anyone who lived there. So that kind of makes sense now. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Good, great part of the country. Thank you.
Yeah, beautiful. Yes,
Yeah.
lovely.
Yeah, I just come up from Plymouth, so it was perfect for me. Yeah. All the way stuck down there. Hard to be a Shoegaze fan when you're stuck so far away.
Oh, is there
To-
not
to-
is there not a Plymouth scene?
no, no, I tried to start one though. But yeah, it's like the going to London gigs, it's always far away and stuff. Bristol is my nearest port of call, really, for most gigs.
Yeah, actually, and Bristol's pretty thriving. There's a lot of gigs
Mm.
on there. So it's not that bad.
Yeah, yeah, seeing the Boo Radleys there on Wednesday.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, of course. Yeah, that was quite, yes, of course, because we actually, when on that little tour, when we were at Dartington, we'd just been in Newport and we were actually staying with Martin Carr,
Oh wow.
but
Yeah.
obviously he's not touring with
Uh,
this sort of Boo Radley's thing, although I'm friends with Sice as well, you know. So yes, of course, I forgot they're kind of out and about. Yeah.
yeah, but great stuff. So I've got like seven questions that I've written down here. Um, so yeah, this would be for the book, if that's okay.
Yeah, no problem.
Um, yeah, the book I did on YouTube. I did like upload a video where I did a presentation at my uni, like an introduction to the book, so people get a gist of what it's about. Um, so if you want to check that video after this, maybe then you can understand it better, perhaps.
Sure.
Um, but anyway, yeah. So question one is, what group were you most comfortable in, and what group has given you the most creative freedom out of Lush, Piroshka, or MB3?
Um, I mean, all of them, they're all quite different, you know. I think all of them in different ways. You know, I think Lush, Lush had, it was a time when you could have, certainly there was more support, you know, being on a label like 4AD meant that I actually had a lot more freedom to concentrate. You know, it was my job and I didn't have to work a second job or I didn't have children that were, you know, so there was a lot more focus with Lush. It was quite relentless, but that did mean that you were, you know, kind of really, that was what you did. And I don't really have that luxury now because, you know, there's not much money about, so we all have jobs and we all have other stuff that we need to do to maintain, you know, just to be able to do the band. So, you know, but then again, you know, with Lush, I mean, I was very young when it started, so I was learning the whole time. And I think, you know, me and Emma settled into a kind of way of writing that became sort of, you know, very much her songs, my songs, and then we'd kind of bring it together with like a producer. And hang on a minute, sorry. Sorry, I'm in the middle of an
Yeah.
interview. This is the
That's okay. It's
problem.
fine.
Family stuff. So, you know, I suppose the way that me and Emma wrote meant I certainly had the freedom to write what I want, but I think with the current band, with, you know, the trio, there's just a bit more collusion and working together on the songs. You're not quite so isolated and left on your own with it, or even kind of framed in a slightly competitive way. So this feels, kind of, it's a little bit. I always want to stop short of kind of, naysaying Lush because I had a fucking great time in that band and it is really important to me.
Yeah.
The difficulty is that, when a band ends up and I'm no longer talking to two of the members, then clearly it casts a sort of pall on it. But I try and remember what exactly it was like to be in that band. And I do think it was just different. Piroshka again, it was really good fun. I mean, it was a revelation to work. I'd been with Moose for like 20 years, but I'd never written with him or really properly worked with him. So that had its own kind of
Mm.
feel as well. And, Mick Conroy and Justin, I mean, all these amazing musicians.
Yeah.
So I think I don't really think of like, oh, this is my kind of butterfly from the cocoon moment. And suddenly I feel completely liberated to write in a certain way. They're all different. And I do think that whatever the environment you're in, you just make the best of it. And there will be, positives and negatives to that or just differences. So, there's no doubt that I'm very much enjoying what I'm doing now. Um, but I think that that's probably as much about how I think, if you're going to do something, you try and enjoy it. It's as much to do with that as it is with the achieving the perfect environment, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah, sorry, there was a bit of glitching going on there with my system, but I think it should be okay. It all came out fine. Um, so, question two, um, what was the highlight of your career, or so far? So far, I should say.
Um, I don't really think about it in those terms. It's really difficult because I think the obvious answers are things that you're meant to pick some landmark moment, like being on Lollapalooza or headlining at a certain venue or
Mm.
putting out a certain album. And it just doesn't really feel like that. When you're on the inside of it, it's, you know, I just look at the whole of the experience of either being in Lush or in Piroshka or in MB3 and think, look, I mean, I can be made happy by the smallest, shittiest gig that, Lush played right at the beginning and think that that was, a great memory. I don't really, possibly because I'm not a particularly careerist person, so I never really think about it in those terms of, oh, well, I'm going to have to, my favorite
Mm.
song will have to be the song that charted the most high.
Yeah,
That's just meaningless to me. So I don't know.
keeping
I
that
think that
indie
that
spirit.
kind of, well, I think, well, yes, that's why I got into music. So I think that that kind of thing of career highs and things is really a journalist's job, or a fan's job. You just kind of like decide for yourself because it's not the same as what I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, it's a good answer. Yeah, I mean, a bit like, I mean, yeah, like what you said about the fans. It depends what they classify as the highlight. Like, I got my Lush ticket for the Manchester Academy from 2016, the final ever gig that Lush played, just on my corkboard up there. I should bring it down and show it here, really, but should I? Do you want me
Hey,
to quickly
it's
grab it?
it's your
Okay.
it's your
All right then. Sorry for the delay. There it is.
Oh, that's quite nice that it's actually a proper ticket as well.
Yeah, not just one of those crappy Ticketmaster designs.
One that they charge you to print out. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, very prized possession of mine, that one. And all of the vinyl you signed from the book signing as well.
Excellent.
You got the Hi Sam messages on there, really good. Yeah, thank you. So question three, what was it like to be on 4AD?
It was great. I think. I mean, it's quite interesting. I think because it was such an eclectic label, it had such a kind of public image as well as a sort of, inner life that I think each band that went on 4AD had quite a different experience. So I think it's quite a well-worn subject that there were certain bands who actually kind of weren't that happy with the sort of trademark packaging that was to do with, Vaughan and Chris, and that the image of the label could sometimes subsume the bands, and that they felt that was problematic. I never felt that. I thought it was fucking great. I thought,
Yeah.
not least because I think, me and Emma were quite conscious that around the time that Lush was signed, it was suddenly a point where, kind of British indie was starting to have, more of an impact in America. I mean, obviously it had that impact with The Cure and Depeche Mode and all of that, but there was a sort of, we were one of the first bands that were kind of actually signed to Warner's, and then Warner's
Mm.
did a deal with the Cocteau with 4AD. So prior to that, if you wanted Cocteau Twins records in America, you had to get them on import and stuff. So there was this moment where it started to sort of get quite a lot bigger. And me and Emma always felt that, being on 4AD actually really protected us, because just let loose on a major label, they would have wanted to capitalize on the idea that there's two girls in a band, and that would have been the marketing strategy. And actually on 4AD, we didn't have to deal with any of that crap. The
Yeah.
sleeves were did not have our faces on them.
Mm.
Yes, there was pressure on the press to have me or Emma on the covers of things or whatever, but every band has that, but it certainly didn't come from the label. And and they were really nice people, it was really good fun being on that label. They were, good people, and people that I've stayed friends with, a lot of them. So to be thrown in from kind of, the Camden Falcon world straight into quite a sort of a label with quite a big sort of platform, Europe, America, all of these things, it felt quite cocooning, actually. It felt like there were people on your side. They weren't just throwing you out there to the wolves. And we were given a lot of support, a lot of artistic freedom when we wanted it, a lot of advice when we asked for it. So I can't really complain at all. To me, it was one of the best things that happened to me was to be on a label like that, or that specific label,
Mm.
actually.
Brilliant. Yeah, Ivor Watts Russell and Robin Guthrie. Yeah, some big people. Yeah. The Pale Saints, you were signed the same day as them, apparently. The same gig.
It was the same gig. I think the Pale Saints got a proper deal before us.
Yeah.
I think we were kind of still kept in a slightly like a sort of testing paddock for a while.
Jurassic Park. Stuck in the paddock.
I mean, partly because the label had, they when they kind of got bands in, they wanted everyone involved to be, really positive about a band. And the one person who was very negative about us was Howard, who ended up becoming our manager. So he ended up getting very gung-ho about Lush. But in those initial stages, he was absolutely against us getting signed, and we kind of had to
Yeah.
prove our worth.
Yeah, well done for proving yourself. Yeah. Sounds like a bit of a character. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the bloke was a bit of a fucking dickhead, I'm not going to lie,
Yeah,
but
that's the word I was going to use, but I want to refrain from swearing. Yeah, so question four. Why have you been so dedicated to boss pedals for all these years?
oh, just absolute laziness, complete fucking laziness. You know, they are fine.
Mm.
That's all I need. I think having a 12 string already, there's a bit of me that I understand that kind of, the world of guitar effects. And clearly that's a kind of part of the music that, I've always ended up making and being involved in. I've always needed pedals because I'm not particularly good guitarist, so you want that kind of help, as it were. But I'm also conscious that I'm playing a 12 string. There's no earthly point in removing. In that case, you might as well play
Yeah,
a 6 string. What's the bloody point? Do you know what I mean? But I
yeah,
actually really like a 12 string. It feels really nice. I like playing them. So there's a kind of balance between not overcomplicating pedals and things. I mean, for instance, now clearly the technology available is infinitely sort of more vast than it was even when I started in Lush. And Moose will have all kinds of tone masters and pedals and this and that and 2 amps and God knows what. My problem is when you have to sing at the same time,
yeah.
right? Just being able to hit the pedal that you want rather than this whole complicated setup where suddenly you kick the wrong button and who knows what is going on. I can't deal with that kind of stuff. So when it comes to like playing live, I need to keep it quite simple, right? So and and I bought the bloody case now that they sit in, so they're just going to have to all be the same size.
Brilliant. Yeah. The one for the one for the nerd central there. But yeah, I always noticed that because I took a picture of the pedal board and stuff like that. So I always
I was saying,
noticed the
do you know
Boss
what?
ones. And,
I was playing a gig with Charlie Stone, and she was actually commenting, and she goes, "Oh my God, you've got this set up." And I was just joking because I said, "Yeah, I tell you what, it reminds me of. It's like if they made like a Cindy doll with like a rock band setup. This is the pedal board they would give that doll, right?
yeah.
Because it just looks quite sweet and
Yeah.
dinky."
And all the colors as well.
Yes,
Yeah. Like a paint palette.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. But really great analogy. I really like that. Brilliant. So next question is number 5. So got a couple more after this. Is it necessary for a musician to sign to a label currently, do you feel? Could there ever be a time like the 80s and 90s where you've got Creation and 4AD, Rough Trade, all of those guys? So, is it worth signing these days?
Um,
You got like Sonic Cathedral, haven't you, I suppose? That's a
yeah,
good
I mean,
example.
I think there's all sort, Sonic Cathedral, I don't know, Tiny Global, what was that Glasgow last night in Glasgow? There's all these labels I hear about because I get to meet individual people and then, I sort of think, oh right, okay, so it's great to hear that there's all these little indie labels about. I mean, I think the need to sign to a label. I mean, it depends, it depends on what you want. I look at a label like Lost Map, in Scotland, and I think Johnny runs this label where there are, it does genuinely have like a real family feel to it. I think Bella Union does to an extent. Certainly we had our records, now two of our records produced or mixed by Paul Gregory, which is Lanterns on the Lake, and they're on Bella Union. And I think Abby and Simon even manage him as a mixer. I'm not totally sure. But anyway, the point being that it's all about interconnectedness. And I do think that a lot of independent music really needs that. I notice it just playing gigs. This at the height of Britpop, there was a very competitive element to these things where, bands were sort of slightly elbowing it out each other out of the way to kind of be the best, and there wasn't a lot of camaraderie. But actually, when you're small, you really need to work together. The sound man needs to work with you, the support bands needs to work with each other. We share our equipment. We don't fucking, you make sure everyone gets a sound check. Trying to make a great night all together. And I think the best labels do that as well. They're not about pitting the bands against each other and, well, this is our biggest signing, so the rest of you are going to have to go fuck yourselves. You know what I mean? It's about having, like, I think it should have like a genuine identity. Now, whether it's worth signing to them, most labels don't have a lot of money, that's for sure. But they have it depends on how much of this stuff you want to do yourself. It's a lot of work, and most people don't have the luxury of doing just a band. They will have to have a job to supplement, you know,
Yeah,
uh,
definitely. Yeah.
and then having a label that can, talk to radio or might have access to a PR so that, all of that stuff can be dealt with while you're either fucking doing your job or just trying to actually write songs and tour. It is a massive help. But I also understand, and I think labels, smaller labels, because they're so small, I don't think you get tied up in quite the same kind of contractual obligations as you used to. I do think that, from what I gather, most labels will just agree to put out your one record, maybe two, see how it goes. They're not going to insist that on day one you sign some, 5 album deal, that if your music goes in a different direction or you're not happy where you are, that you're just fucking stuck there. So in some ways, although not having any money is a fucking pain in the ass, not least because even going out on tour means you don't get tour support. You've really got to make the ends meet, and that's hard. Um, on the other side, you're probably freer to kind of, move where you want to. So yeah, swings and roundabouts, I guess.
Mm. Yeah, definitely. Like when I was in my old band called Breather, yeah, it was like that. We had the one guy who was doing all the admin stuff and the negotiations with booking agents, that thing. And we were considering, a label and stuff, but yeah, it is that kind of balance, isn't it? Really, you've got to make a decision, got to be committed to something.
Well, and I
Yeah,
think it just depends on how much you can help each other. There's a point, like for instance, I didn't have an agent when MB3 started. I was just booking the gigs through friends and people that I don't know would message me on social media. But there came a point where we got offered a couple of shows in Europe, and trying to link up these dates with anything in between, I just thought, this is now beyond me. I'm going to have to get an agent because I don't know enough people in France to ring them all individually and see if they've got a Thursday free where we can play on a
yeah,
specific date.
yeah,
So I think it's the same with a label. I think, if you want your records out in another country, rather than just sending them all on Bandcamp, which is going to cost you an absolute fortune now,
yeah,
given
and
Brexit, trying to actually, I mean, some guy who bought our record the other week said it ended up costing him about 70 quid
mm,
because of all the duties he had to pay. So,
yeah,
uh,
not good.
yeah.
Yeah, and oh, what was I gonna say? I lost it.
Sorry, I
I
do
lost what I was
ramble
gonna
on.
say.
Sorry.
No, no, it's fine. It's not your fault. It's all good.
I think you're talking about just
Uh,
just like the label actually,
yeah,
and not having a label, and your experience of not needing one, it sounded
yeah,
like.
yeah, and knowing about sort of when to drop your job as well. Like we were all working in like supermarkets and stuff with my band, so it's hard to know when the moment is. I guess when you can drop the job and when you earn enough to tour and produce albums. I mean, you can make
Yeah,
albums at home, can't you? That helps.
you can make albums at home. The touring is the difficult thing. So obviously, like we're touring from April, but it has to be at weekends, because Moose has got like a proper job. I mean, I freelance, but Moose has got the sort of job where it's like, well, that's your holidays. If you use them up, that's it. There's no more days off, right? In a
Yeah,
funny way, I mean, not that I am a massive fan of 0 hours contracts, but I can see how it would work more in your favor if you're in a band, that you can just think, all right, fuck it, we'll take, 4 weeks off, and
yeah,
you've got the freedom to tour, but then you don't have any kind of stability for the rest of the time either. So yeah, it
yeah.
is harder now. When I was doing it in the 80s, late 80s with Lush, there were kind of infrastructure privileges. Well, they weren't privileges, they were fucking rights. You had like unemployment benefit, or you had,
Mm.
you
Yeah, it was that
know,
thing that McGee got, wasn't it? Like,
enterprise allowance.
Alan McGee got Labour or something to create this benefit for musicians in like '97. Some proposal he made, and I think it lasted for 10 years. That's what I read in the Creation Records book.
Oh, okay. Well, that was after my time, so I have no
Right.
idea what that was. I mean, what we had was a thing called the enterprise allowance, which was this amazing thing that allowed I think you could be on it for a year and you would effectively get dole money, but you didn't have to go and sign on. So it was like meant to be some sort of entrepreneurial
Mm,
startup mechanism, um, that was really just to get the unemployment figures down. It was quite cynical, but it absolutely worked in our favour. Um, and yeah, but rent was cheaper, transport was cheaper, life was cheaper. And I think now it's a lot harder to do all of that. Mm,
mm.
You know, I mean, I look at a band like My Bloody Valentine. I mean, they all lived in a squat until, do you know what I mean, in those first years.
There's the tickets for Dublin this year.
Ah, excellent.
Yeah, cannot wait to see them. Be my first time seeing them. Apparently, Emma's going to it, according
Oh,
to
okay.
social media. I saw she got a ticket.
Okay, well, I better not go then. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be really amazing. Just, I don't want to overhype it in my head, you know. Just don't want it
For
to.
sure.
Yeah, I got big expectations. I don't want it
Well, I'm
to
sure it
not
would
live
live.
up to it.
It will live up to everything that you imagine it will. I'm sure.
Yeah, because the visuals and stuff they do as well, isn't it? They have these amazing lights and backdrop and stuff. Brilliant. So question six. Well, you pretty much addressed that already. It was basically, what is your best advice for musicians looking to get signed these days? But you kind of answered that already, I think. So number seven, I might as well go on to. I've always loved the jewel case, the sort of the luminous green jewel case of Split. You didn't have any idea how that was designed?
Nope.
Yeah,
None. That's a question for Chris Big, I imagine.
yeah,
I mean, I think we had a kind of right of veto over the sleeves and stuff, but we very much left it to Vaughan and Chris because we trusted them. They didn't just kind of they listened to the music. They would come up with ideas. They would choose photographers. Also, Vaughan had a very convincing way of delivering an opinion on justifying what he had in mind for you. Um, and I just trusted, the thing is, there's a lot of things I think you end up doing in a band yourself because you realize it's actually better if you do it yourself, right? Sleeve design is not one of them, right? If someone else is really good at a job, you can sit there and go, oh, can we, I'll pick
yeah,
between here's four ideas. That's the one I like the most. But I'm also very easily overruled because it is just not I can admit that there is, someone who is infinitely more talented at a job than I am. So why wouldn't you just let them get on with it?
yeah, yeah. Cool. Um, so I think that's all of the questions I've got written down. So, is there anything you'd like to say, Mickey? Like,
I don't know. Probably not much else apart from the fact that like it's interesting. So it's quite interesting that you're right, you are pulling this all under the umbrella of shoegaze. I think it's interesting that My Bloody Valentine, for instance, I mean, Kevin certainly would never say that My Bloody Valentine were a shoegaze band.
no.
I kind of agree with him, actually. I don't think Lush ever were really either. It's always a sort of, it's kind of an umbrella title I struggle with, but then I wonder if every band struggles with it.
Mm,
And I don't just mean because shoegaze used to be an insult. I just mean even if it was fucking, even if you're going to call it dream pop or you're going to call it whatever the
yeah.
fuck you're going to call it, I think that um, it will be interesting to see how you tackle in your book what you think really ties all of these bands together, because I think on the inside, I
Mm.
can mainly only see differences. So good luck with that.
Yeah, yeah. I did write an intro, like declaring my definition of it. I think it was, mostly just saying about the introspection, the impressionistic idea of like the sort of the voice not being the lead instrument and creating this cocoon kind of atmosphere. Everything's enveloping the listener, and create an experience. And yeah, dreamlike qualities. Interesting songwriting as well. I think the fact that a lot of the choruses, I mean, a lot of the songs didn't have choruses. It's just kind of verses, and then like there'd be some sort of noise bit, and then back to the verse or pre-chorus.
We've just completely underlined why I don't think Lush fit into that category. Just trying to,
Oh,
on that basis, what a song like Hypocrite would be doing in there, or, you know, even 500 or to be honest, I think most of our songs had choruses. There's the odd one that doesn't. You could argue that Desire Lines is
mm.
probably the most shoegazy song. But I don't
um,
think, Thought Forms has a
n-
chorus.
n- 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 n-
Ethereal has a
nothing
chorus.
natural. I think nothing natural doesn't. That's kind of
It
just a flow, isn't it, of
I see what you
verses?
mean. Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. I think maybe some of the more longer, like even maybe some of Emma's more kind of went more into that kind of region. I mean, I suppose Undertow doesn't really, but
Mm.
yeah. Yes, you're right. I can pick out individual songs, but I can equally pick out a load of songs that aren't, you
Yeah.
know. But anyway, that's just me nitpicking. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, maybe one more question. But what future plans are there for MB3?
Well, we've got this album coming out in April and then
Yeah.
we'll tour it. I mean, I'm so fucking old now, that I can't really think beyond the sort of immediate, like this album's coming out, we'll tour it. We might go to America if we can get this bloody thing together. It's so much to organize. And
Mm.
by then, you're
Must be.
looking at me. I mean, I'm going to turn 50. Fuck, what am I going to turn? 58 in March. So by the time all that's done, I'm going to be really not far off 60. And whether I can be bothered to fucking keep doing it. Well, I mean, I'd love to do it, but it's whether I've got the energy to do it. So we just have to see, really.
Brilliant. Yeah, I really look forward to that in April. Yeah.
Cool.
Really look forward to the release. So, yeah. Thank you for your time, Miki Berenyi.
No problem.
A pleasure to have you on the channel, and look forward to getting you in the book,
Yes. Good luck
this
with it.
interview. Thank you very much.
All right.
All right. Thanks, Miki. Have a great evening, and speak again, maybe.
All right. Cheers.
Yeah. Thank you.
See ya.
Bye. Bye bye.